What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine Event, main on MMA, and today, ladies and gents, we are watching this video from TheWeasle MMA, our boy Ilia, the GOAT. All right, everybody's the GOAT, in my opinion. If y'all are like, man, you say it, yeah, everybody is the GOAT, because the whole thing is, it moves like that. Anybody can be the GOAT at any time, at any place. Shout out to Tyrant Terminator. Ilia Topuria has said he was promised a title fight, ladies and gents, from the UFC. And then they kind of were like backtracking on it immediately. Like, it's pretty weird, but I would have assumed they offered him a title fight, or why would he give up his belt without a guaranteed title fight? Now he's just going to be a contender, just a random dude in another weight class. Like, no, he says he was promised a title fight, and now things are getting murky. But let's see what TheWeasle has to say about this whole situation.
No tengo tan claro cuál va a ser mi siguiente combate. Lo único que tengo claro y la palabra que tengo de parte de la UFC es que mi próximo combate va a ser por el título mundial. Sí, eso es lo único que sé. Después si va a ser Islam, si va a ser Charles, no tengo ni idea, pero...
¿Tú confirmas que el cinturón está en juego?
El cinturón está en juego. Está en juego. Esa ha sido la promesa por dejar el...
That was the promise for the title.
Siempre todo lo que me han prometido.
Interesting.
Si te estoy entendiendo, o Makhachev sale corriendo y sube para arriba, o Makhachev tiene que salir al octógono contra Ilia Topuria.
Estás en lo cierto. No le faltaba, he dicho la verdad, tiene 10 derrotas. No he dicho otra cosa. Tiene 10 derrotas, 5 por knockout, 4 por sumisión, 1 por decisión. Dice que es la división más difícil que hay. Cuando él estaba peleando en 145, hasta Cub Swanson le ha metido una paliza. Ahí se tiene que acabar la conversación. Algo que no pudo conseguir en 145 libras, lo consiguió en 155, que se convirtió en campeón del mundo. Entonces, ¿por qué esa división es más difícil que yo vengo?
Damn.
No encuentro ninguna lógica. Y por eso
damn, he shit all over that shit. You're right. Like... he's saying Charles got beat by Cub Swanson at 45. It was much tougher for him, and then he moved up and became champion. So where's the logic where you weren't able to find that success at that division, but you were able to become champion in a higher division? That's interesting. My boy Ilia is shitting all over my boy Charles. Mom and dad stop fighting. These are two of my favorite fighters right now. I mean, they got a clash at some point. It seems like it's coming to a head. We'll see what happens. But Ilia is really shitting all over that logic.
Eso es una falta de respeto y yo no sé desde cuándo decir la verdad es una falta de respeto. Yo nunca mezclo lo personal con lo profesional, ¿verdad? No tengo ningún problema con Charles. Seguramente una vez nuestras carreras se hayan acabado, podamos estar juntos, pasar un buen rato, cenar, comer, lo que haga falta, pero... esto es un deporte, ¿sabes? Dentro de un octógono.
Ilia Topuria wants to fight, and according to him, the UFC hasn't offered him any opponents. Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira are the two fighters that he's been training for. Those are the guys that he wants. He doesn't see any other opponent available for him, even though there is Arman Tsarukyan. Arman's like the only fighter that Ilia doesn't want to fight. But not just Ilia. Charles just had an interview and said that he doesn't want to fight Arman either. Nobody wants to fight Arman.
One other name I wanted to ask you about, because it seemed like some people thought maybe it would be you and Arman Tsarukyan in a rematch. You fought at UFC 300. Is that a fight that interests you? Would you like to get that one back?
Right. I understand that, but not at this time. Like I said, I respect him. I respect his style, his fighting, but right now, I'm seeking the title. That's the fight that I want.
Yeah, why would he fight Arman?
The #1 contender.
It makes no
wants
sense.
to fight him because they all think they're gonna get a title shot. Besides Islam, I think Islam would still take the Arman fight. But Islam wants Ilia to fight someone else first. Ilia doesn't want to fight Arman. Charles doesn't want to fight Arman or Ilia. Gaethje wants a title shot. Everybody wants a title shot, right? Ilia says he's gonna fight for the title next. Charles says he's gonna fight for the title next. Gaethje says he's gonna fight for the title next. Arman's like, I'll fight anybody. Can somebody just fight somebody at this point? And not knowing for Ilia that's one of the...
Honestly, I think Gaethje and Arman, for me personally, are out of this equation. I take them out of the equation. I think it's between Ilia and Charles right now.
implications as to him vacating his featherweight title was him going up to 155 and fighting for the title. He's saying that's what the UFC told him, so if that was one of the conditions, then he should fight for the title. The fact that the UFC told him that is very important. Armin is not there to fight. Charles Oliveira lost to Armin, so you can't really give it to him. Dana did talk about Justin Gaethje. Islam's camp is interested to fight Justin Gaethje, but now Ilia is saying that he doesn't know who his opponent is going to be. It's crazy that they didn't even talk to him about it yet. Right, Islam just fought Renato Moicano. Armin, Charles, and Justin Gaethje, all these fighters are options. And the UFC still has not talked to Ilia about his next fight. Which one of those options are for his next fight? So now Ilia is putting the lightweight division on blast. Pretty much saying that if these guys don't fight him, then they were just scared of him from the beginning. Now, I don't think any of them are scared of each other. But one of them definitely has
Let
to
him
fight
know, Ilia.
next. Now, Charles Oliveira is saying that Ilia Topuria is being disrespectful to him. Ilia was saying things about Oliveira's losses before. He got knocked out 5 times, submitted 4 times, all that sort of stuff. But the thing was, Charles had a comment about Ilia first, and Ilia, I guess, saw some kind of disrespect from it or a reason for him to respond in the way he did. Charles said this about Ilia, quote, Topuria is a very tough guy and he deserves all the respect in the world. But right now, I don't see it as a big fight. If I'm looking for a title, well, I have to fight Makhachev in order to win and become the champion again, unquote.
Well,
and
that's
when
it.
Ilya fired at Charles about his losses and now he is the champion.
Nah, I think that was light. That was just a logical, like, yo, I'm trying to fight the champion. I want to win the belt. I think fighting anybody else doesn't make sense if you're trying to fight the champion next. Only fight that makes sense is Islam. All right. And he was already booked, and then he left. He had an injury, pulled out, and then he went out, won a fight, right? Beat Chandler. And now he's the number 1 contender again, or it was looking like he should be. But you got Gaethje, and I don't know. It's weird. But I don't think Charles is being disrespectful with that answer at all.
Lightweight division. He's essentially the head of all of them. Because before that, Ilia was talking about how he wanted to fight Charles, right? He said this back in December, that his focus is to fight Charles because Islam was fighting Armin at the time. And then Charles started talking about the lightweight and featherweight divisions, how they're different. He said this quote, I just want to remind everyone that the toughest division is lightweight. I've been in it for years, so I have something to say. I know the firepower I have. I think Topuria needs to get into the division more calmly, more slowly, because there are a lot of tough guys who deserve respect. But then why not fight Ilia? If Charles is talking about his punching power, then why not display it in the fight against the guy he's talking about? Because I don't think the UFC is going to give Charles a title shot, especially over Ilia, and you can't give him one over Armin. He didn't beat anybody that was top ranked after losing to Armin. He beat Michael Chandler, which was a fight that didn't make any sense in the first place. A fight with Armin would be cool. A fight with Ilia would be great. But then again, they're willing to give a title shot to Gaethje, or at least be open to it. And Charles asking for a title shot doesn't make sense. He lost to Armin. Like, I get it, Oliveira has a good win streak. He was a very exciting champion, had title defenses and stuff, but in his last 4 fights, he is 2-2. One of those is a loss to Islam. Armin fought Islam, but that was his UFC debut on short notice. Charles fought Islam 4 fights ago, and he got finished. Armin went to a decision with him. Since Charles Oliveira lost his belt, his best wins have been Michael Chandler, who he's beaten before, and Beneil Dariush, who was a good win at the time. Armin Tsarukyan's best wins are Charles Oliveira himself and a faster finish against Beneil Dariush. Both pulled out against Islam, Armin more recently, and Charles back in 2023, and then Volk stepped in. It makes no sense to give a title shot to Charles over Armin. And for Justin Gaethje, he got knocked out by Max Holloway, who's the number 5 ranked fighter 2 fights ago. He did knock out Dustin, that's the biggest thing going for him, and he never fought Islam. But his last win is against the number 11 ranked Rafael Fiziev. That gets him a title shot over Armin and
crazy.
Ilia, even with the Dustin win.
No
Ilia
sense.
knocked out 2 of the greatest featherweights of all time. The guy who knocked out Justin Gaethje, and he's an undefeated featherweight champion. Championship fights are supposed to resemble who the best are. It's the best versus the best. That's what title fights are. And if you're not giving it to the other best guy, then what is it really?
Yeah.
It's just some cool
Give
fight
it
with
to
a belt
Ilia.
slapped on it. And the 2 other best guys, other than Islam, are the number 1 contender on a 4-fight win streak, Armin Tsarukyan, and the undefeated featherweight champion. Title fights are supposed to mean it's the 2 best fighters in the weight class fighting. That's what they're supposed to be. We want to see the best fight the best already. 2024 had so many undeserved title shots. No more Khalil Rountrees and Kai Asakuras and Dustin Poiriers off of 1 win and rolling Stipe Miocic in there to fight John Jones. Let's give it to Armin or let's give it to Ilia. That's it. Those are the other two best fighters after Islam. And that's why Ilia was saying how that doesn't make any sense. If lightweights were so much tougher than featherweights, then why was Charles not successful at featherweight, but he was at lightweight? He said when he was at featherweight that even Cub Swanson beat him. Cub took some strays right there. Cub was a good fighter at the time, you know, but Ilia is fighting at a different level. So everybody under him is just another
Shout
guy.
out to Cub
And there is
Swanson.
some logic to that. In fact, most of the top lightweights came from the featherweight division. Not only Charles Oliveira, but Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, Dan Hooker, and now Ilia Topuria. If you think of all the top lightweights of the last 5 years, most of them came from the featherweight division. Now, does that mean that the featherweights are better? Maybe. But it could also mean that those guys are just too big. They were so good, but they were at the wrong weight class. It could be that as well. But one thing is for certain. The top lightweights have been filled by former featherweights. So for Charles to say that the lightweight division is different, for Ilia did get dropped by Jai Herbert, but that was a fight long ago when he was just taking one fight, right? He wasn't adjusting himself to the weight class. Look how much better Max was when he actually adjusted to 155 versus when he didn't. And if Ilia really walks at 187 pounds, I don't think it's going to be that much tougher for him. What if Ilia actually beats everybody? Does that prove that the featherweights are just better than the lightweights? It's an interesting discussion because it's really been the middleweight division and the lightweight division that has had multiple fighters move and either win belts or become top ranked, right? With middleweight, you have Sean Strickland, Robert Whittaker, Kelvin Gastelum fought for an interim title and went to war with Adesanya, and also at lightweight. So it's going to be very interesting on who Ilia fights next. According to Ilia, the UFC promised him a title fight. Imagine it's the BMF title. He's got to fight Max all over again. Right, Ilia is in a position where the UFC seems like they don't know what to do with him. And Arman is even in a more enigmatic position. In fact, he's the only top lightweight, other than Dustin who's retiring, that is fine with not fighting for the title. I think they should just give it to Arman, get the rematch going, in the meantime have Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira fight on the same card, co-main event, and that lines
Arman's
up the entire title picture
Max
perfectly. Oh, did you guys hear? Kyoji Horiguchi is returning to the UFC, hopefully at flyweight, not bantamweight. What a great addition. I mean, the flyweight division is just booming at this point. It's better than ever, but it has such a dominant champion. It doesn't seem like it's that great. That happens often when there's a dominant champion. It seems like the weight class isn't that great, but it just goes to show that the champion is far better than people think. The flyweight division is probably top 3 weight classes in the UFC right now. I don't think they should give him a title shot yet, though. Have Horiguchi fight Brennan Royval or Amir Albazi. If he beats one of those two guys, who are both in the top 3, then they should give him a title shot. Because the crazy thing is, Horiguchi, even though he's coming from Ryzen, he has wins over Manel Kep and Kai Asakura, 2 ranked fighters in the UFC. As they were all in Ryzen before. He did fight them a while ago, but he could be one of the best flyweights in the world. I don't think he beats Pantoja, though. I think Horiguchi would overall outstrike him, but I think the grappling between them two is going to make the biggest difference for Pantoja winning. But interesting news altogether. We got a new fighter in the flyweight division, Ryzen champion. Just goes to show that UFC is just absorbing the best of every organization. They have Reiner de Ritter from One, who was a double weight.
Isn't that what the UFC should be? I hate when they're it seems like they, with Pitbull, it took him too long to get to the UFC. It's like they kind of blacklist certain fighters who are successful in other promotions sometimes. It's really weird. And I thought, if you guys were saying we have the best fighters, but you just flat out won't take this guy for personal reasons, then you're intentionally not letting the best fight the best. When the people are hey man, I'd love to go to the UFC. And people are I think that guy could be champion right now. You should sign that guy. But they choose not to. It's interesting.
World champion. They have Kyoji Horiguchi, Manel Kep, and Kai.
I think these Ryzen guys aren't the answer. Not right away. Manel looks a lot better, even with the cheating. He looks a lot better than when he first got here. I don't know if these are the answer right away.
Asakura, 3 of the best fighters from Ryzen. They have Michael Chandler and Patricio Pitbull, who are regarded as the goats of Bellator. Now they need Patchy Mix, Usman Nurmagomedov, Paul Hughes,
I like Patchy Mix over here.
and Johnny Eblen. It'd be great if they
Paul
got Francis
Hughes, that'd
Ngannou
be cool.
back, but I don't think Dana would ever do it. I mean, how insane would Tom Aspinall versus Francis Ngannou be? 2 of the heavyweights' best finishers in UFC history. And with the talent in the lightweight division, hopefully they could get these fights together. Ilia Topuria has laid the grounds of what he wants to do next and who he wants to fight next. And
shout out to TheWeasle MMA, ladies and gents. Shout out to TheWeasle. I think he got off track at the end there, but we were initially talking about Ilia Topuria. He says he was promised that he would get a title fight upon vacating his belt at 145, but he's saying he has not been offered a fight yet. Islam and his team are saying they don't want to fight Ilia right now. They feel like he should fight someone at 155, beat someone at 155, and prove that he can hang here. He just beat he beat Jai Herbert at 155, and he's gonna be bigger coming up. I think he should get the title fight right now. But I'm a huge Ilia fan. I'd like to eventually see a title fight between Ilia and Arm in 5 rounds. I think that would be crazy. I think Ilia should fight for the belt next. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Head on over to TheWeasle. Give him a like. Tell him Mama sent you. And thank you guys once again for being here. As always, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Shout out to everybody who's just been leaving positive comments lately. I fucks with you hard body.
Featherweight, I'm more Francis Ngannou. I be the biggest problem out of any nigga I know. A little old school, like some 45 vinyls. You niggas old duels, what that do to the wino? I do it the commercial way, pay without the splits.